Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Get Out of Rap. Today, I have the privilege of being joined by Sir John Kirwan, All Black legend, played in 63 tests, scoring 35 tries, one of the highest try scorers in rugby history, part of the All Blacks team that won the first ever World Cup and has been honoured for his work in mental health. Has written two books. One, the title I just think is amazing, All Blacks Don't Cry, and is co-founder of Groov, science-based, data-driven platform to help people with their well-being, and perfectly positioned to help those people in contact centres. But just before we hit record, it's just JK, mate. So JK, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, man. Real honor, real honor. I'm sorry to keep you up so late. It's early morning here in New Zealand, so yeah.
It's a pleasure. Um, I'd love to start with what set you off on this journey of being such a champion of not only mental health but trying to be preventative and get out there and talk to people about mental health. You know, you're a prime elite athlete at the top of their game. It sometimes you might not associate that with mental health. So why mental health?
Um, so my story sort of starts with wanting to jump out of a window, mate. Um, I always look left because I was in a hotel room in Buenos Aires on an All Black tour, and I'd been hiding. I was an anxiety-based depression, right? So I had anxiety attacks. I didn't know what they were, Martin. My reference to mental health was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right? I don't know if you remember, if you're old
Yeah,
enough
great
to
film.
remember, right? But I thought if I spoke to anyone about my mental health, um, I was going to get locked up with Jack Nicholson and Chief, the big American Indian guy, right? And I can laugh about that now, but that was a reality. I had
Mm.
no awareness really of what mental health was. So I was having anxiety attacks and hiding them, right? So I explain an anxiety attack like just pure fear, right? But then it would go away. But it never really goes away because what happens with an anxiety attack is when it leaves you, it leaves a little scar behind, and I call that scar fear. So in the end, you're walking around in fear, right? I remember one morning I went to a radio show. Um, with a guy called Kevin Black. He was like our first ever DJ, right? Famous DJ. And I don't know, shit, mate, I don't know what sort of shit he was on, man, but he was bouncing off the walls at 7 a.m. in the morning, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I go in, I'm feeling okay. We talk about, we're talking code, and he cracks a bottle of champagne, right? So having champagne at 7 in the morning, and um, I'm only on there like 20 minutes, and I go downstairs and I get in my car and my world changes, right? So I have this massive anxiety attack. I'm sitting in my car and I can't move. And I can't move because it's the first time I had suicidal ruminations. So I was too scared to drive because I thought if I drive, I'm going to drive into a lamppost at 150k or drive off the Harbour Bridge. And so I just sat there frozen. It was like being in a sardine can, like squashing me. Um, and so I waited until it sort of passed a wee bit, and then I drove home really slowly. And luckily, I fell asleep when I got home, and I woke up and I thought, shit, I'm not going to have champagne in the morning anymore. You know, I I didn't take any awareness or responsibility, well, not responsibility, but I just didn't know what it was. So I kept ignoring these things. And I talk about mental illness, and it is an illness, and I'll get to that in a minute. Um, you know, it a minute feels like an hour feels like a day, and a day feels like a week. So by the end of the day, you are absolutely exhausted. You got to
Mm.
realize that I'm playing rugby, I'm walking around, no one's noticing, everyone thinks I'm living the dream. I even had long blonde hair, mate, not grey hair,
Well, you
probably
had
back
hair.
when you had hair, you know. So so um, I'm living this false life and sort of faking through it. And the energy that took was incredible. So, like I say, exhausted. The other thing I didn't realize about this illness is it takes away your self-esteem, takes away your self-confidence, and takes away your enjoyment in life. Life's pretty shitty without those three things. So I ignore it. I ignore it. I ignore these anxiety attacks. You know, having moments of outstanding, achievement in between these anxiety attacks, but they get more frequent, and I just ignore them. You know, I think I'm going insane.
Mm.
Um, and then one morning I wake up and it just doesn't go away. Um, the anxiety attack just stays. And at the time, I didn't know what that was, but that's full blown what they call clinical depression, with suicidal ruminations. So thinking about suicide, and I thank God or Allah or whoever you believe that, um, you know, that I didn't plan my own suicide. But I'm lying in bed in a hotel room in Buenos Aires, and I'm sick of fighting this shit. The window's open, um, and I just decide to run and jump out. Right, so I'm plucking up the courage. I just finished another anxiety attack, and the guy lying next to me says, "JK, you've got a good heart." And he saves my life. His name was Michael Jones. He's also been knighted, Sir Michael Jones. We used to call him the Iceman, you know. People say, why'd you call him the Iceman? You're like, was he cool and calm under pressure? I said, no, he used to smack the shit out of people, have ice packs all over him after the game. So that's we call him the Iceman. But, you know, he saved my life, mate.
Mm.
And that moment, we talk about it often, you know. He's an incredible man in his own right. Work he does with the community and with his Samoan community. He's really religious, you know, and he didn't know that he'd saved my life at the time. And I spoke to him about it, you know, many years later. He said, oh, you know, he's very beautifully, softly spoke. He said, oh, bro, I think maybe God told me. I said, shit off. If God knows who I am, I'm pretty happy about that, but I don't think so, you know what I mean? But he saved my life, and it changed the course of what happened. So, you know, I played a test match the next day against Argentina, scored 2 tries, but it's like living in a dream, mate. It was like me watching myself from an out of body experience. Um, so, so I kept saying to myself, JK, you've got a good heart. JK, you've got a good heart. JK, you've got a good heart. Got through the test match, managed to fly home, and I went and saw my doctor finally, right? Guess who my doctor was? No,
No
he was
idea.
he was the All Black doctor. We'd been on tour for a month, but I wouldn't talk to him about it.
Really?
You know, yeah. Um, you know, you think about some of the reasons why we don't go and see the doctor about this stuff, you know, worried
Mm.
about being locked up in an, back in those days, worried about being locked up in an institution, getting dropped from the All Blacks, you know. In your situation, it'd be, you know, I'm going to lose my job and I'm supplying money for the family. You know, there's a whole lot of dumb shit that goes through your head. Well, not dumb shit, but a whole lot of
Mm.
stuff that goes through your head about why you shouldn't. Anyway, I walk into the doctor's office and he says to me, I tell him about it, and I'm thinking he's going to ring, you know, and me and Jack Nicholson are going to be roommates. And he goes, oh, JK, it's an illness. I went, what? What do you mean it's an illness? He said, no, it's an illness. Because I thought it was a weakness. I thought it was me. I thought I wasn't good enough. I
Mm.
thought, you know, I had a few sharks, and I can talk about that a little bit later, you know. I just didn't think I was good enough. I just thought I was lucky to be where I was, right? And I go, what do you mean it's an illness? He said, yeah, it's an illness. And you get better from it, you know. Um, and because you've got suicidal ruminations, I suggest you take some antidepressants and go and see a psychologist. My answer, piss off, doc. What are you talking about? You know? And the dumb thing is, here's the same guy, like I'm going to the gym for 3 hours a day. Loved a mirror too, by the way, Martin, loved a mirror. You know, I'm going to the gym 3 hours a day, trying to be the best athlete I can. I mean, do you like massages, mate?
Yeah.
You know, we used to get 3 of those things free a week, you know. I'm the first one on the massage table,
Yeah.
right? Um, and, you know, I've got a sore ankle. I'll go to the physio
Mm.
3 times to fix it up. And guess what? My ankle's still a bit sore on Saturday. And the doctor says, oh, just whack 300 milligrams, 400 milligrams of Voltaren and you can play. You know what I did? Whack that down my gob and play,
Yeah,
right?
without a
But I,
thought, probably. Yeah.
without a thought, you know,
Mm.
but I won't do anything for my head and I won't go and see anyone,
Mm.
right? So I'm getting some awareness around, you know, this mental health journey being an illness and not a weakness. So I'm starting to understand it a wee bit, but I'm not getting any better. So I don't go and see anyone for a month. So I go back to Doc, and Doc says, you know, go and see someone. So the first thing about mental health is acceptance, right? So I still hadn't accepted it. I was still fighting it, right? And I
Mm.
say to people, never give up, but stop fighting, right?
Mm.
Because it's that energy you use in fighting it and living this fake life. And so anyway, I go and see someone, right? And talk about courage. Some people, and I know that you work in call centers. Courage sometimes is just getting out of bed and going to work.
Mm.
Like I love these words that we use all the time: courage and motivation. A lot of those words are just bullshit because the reality for the individual is very, very different. So courage back then for me wasn't running out against England at Twickenham. That was easy, mate. Right?
Mm.
Courage for me was going to see someone about my mental health.
Mm.
So anyway, the first person I go to see, I walk in, right? And I'm going against my will,
Yeah.
right? Like the doc saying to me, you got to do this. So I walk in, this guy says to me, JK, you're a volcano, go inside and you've got all this power inside you. I said, I don't want to be a volcano, you dick. I just want to get well. You know what I mean? Sorry, can I swear a little bit on
Yeah.
the
Yeah. No problem.
sorry if I've offended anyone, I apologize. But
Not at all.
and I walk out of there thinking, I told you, Doc, I'm insane, right? And this is a really important point. Sometimes we don't connect with the people who we first go and see, which sends you backwards. So I'm sure the
Mm.
volcano guy helped a lot of people, but I didn't want to be a freaking volcano. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mm.
And it nearly killed me at the time. I can laugh about it now,
Mm.
like I did, because I don't know. I'm pretty sure the UK humour is similar
Oh,
to ours.
yeah.
We like to laugh at stuff that is pretty
Yes, we
serious.
do.
You know,
Yeah.
uh,
Pathos is how we get through.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so, Doc said to me, you just didn't connect, JK. But what I thought was, I told you, it's me.
Mm.
I told you that I can't get better. So, anyway, I waited another month. I actually started taking the antidepressants because I was in such a bad way, and that gave me some balance. So I started to get some balance into my brain. And so the second person I went to saved my life. She, I booked an hour before my hour and an hour after, right? Because I was too embarrassed to go. How stupid's that? So we didn't, I'm hiding behind trees, and I get in
Mm.
and I sit. She says, "Rugby player, AJK." I said, "Yeah, I'm a rugby player." She said, "What would you do if you had a tight hamstring?" I said, "I'd stop and stretch it." She said, "Okay, you've stopped and stretched it. Um, you know, you get up and you keep running, it's really, really tight. What would you do?" And I said, "Well, I'd stop training, I'd ice it and go to the physio." She said, "Your brain's no different." I went,
Mm.
"Shit. I've got a hamstring in the head, right? What's the ice and who's the
Yeah.
physio,
Mm.
right?" Um, and I tried alcohol, mate. I used to get absolutely shit faced off my face, right? To try and get away from this noise in my head. And unfortunately, it worked for a few hours, right? But I knew it didn't work forever because the next day it made me worse. I'd go back at 100 miles an hour. So I knew that alcohol wasn't the ice, um, you know, and I sort of connected with Dr. Louise Armstrong, and I knew that she was the physio for the head.
Mm.
So a couple of really important things happened. I accepted my illness, right? I decided that I was going to dedicate as much time as it took to get myself right, just like when I smashed my shoulder, right? Physio twice a day, rehabilitation, and away we go. And so that's what I did, and that started me on the journey of understanding me, um, you know, working out how I can look after myself, right? And what Groov and now we call preventative mental health. And the reason I talk about it so much is I believe if I had known this stuff um, before, then I might not have been pushed off the cliff. I think 4% of the population are born with some sort of mental health issue, right? Um, bipolar, schizophrenia, personality disorders. That's 4% of the population. But the majority of us get pushed.
Mm.
I was an anxiety-based depressant that I knew, but I didn't have any idea that, you don't have to accept your anxiety. You can cure it. You can get way better at it, So I got pushed into that bad zone. And so I just accepted my illness. I said, right. And the day I accepted it, the day is the day that I took some power out of the anxiety attacks, right? Because I just said to them, right, I've survived 1,000 of them, come on. Instead of hiding it at the back of my head, I started resting it on my knee and talking to
Mm-hmm.
it, saying, okay, here we go. I took the antidepressants, and then I really started working hard on how I can be the best at this illness possible. So I started to go and see Dr. Louise regularly, and she taught me some amazing techniques. The first one, if you got a question, mate, I talk too much. Just tell me to shut up. So shut up, JK.
You have just such a wonderful turn of phrase. I'm happy just listening. I guess I was struck by and I'm sure lots of people listening can relate to the way that you verbalize just the how tiring it is, how tiring it must have been to it's not only during but then after, and then you're then waiting and fearful of the next anxiety attack, which is exhausting in of itself. And you're dead right, that kind of courage that it takes to not even go and see someone, but just get up and carry on functioning as a normal human being. And then it leads me, I'm struck by the contrast of you were very much in the public eye, and the perception being this is you were at the top of the pyramid of sporting achievement, tiny percentage of people that can do what you do, and yet you're carrying this huge weight around. Must have added to the exhaustion. Was that when you actually played and stepped on the field, did you were you still carrying it then, or was that respite during the game?
Yeah, so early in the piece, so the anxiety attacks would come and go away. And so, like I said, some days I'd just be, you know, on fire on the field, no problems, no anxiety, felt fantastic, played incredibly well. Um, Once my anxiety fell into a depression, it didn't go away. So I played probably for 3 or 4 years, um, probably depressed,
Mm,
you know, and the thing I talk about is that the energy that it takes just to get through the day. Um, and I've played in front of 80,000 people and been incredibly alone. I've been in aftermath functions where I've been player of the day and felt alone. And a lot of people talk about um, the burden they feel they're going to put on other people. You feel like you're a burden to yourself, and you feel like you're a burden to other people, so you don't want to share this. And if you don't have any understanding of it as well, um, which was my drama, is that I thought I was going to be locked up in an institution.
mm,
So the energy that this takes often, and I'm not just talking about those of us that are anxiety and depressed. Stress, normal stress from life is tiring,
mm,
you know. And so the thing is with the world, the mental health stats of the world are going the wrong way. 1 in 5 people in the workplace are unwell. You know, 800,000 people committed suicide last year, right? In our beautiful country of New Zealand, by the end of the day, a New Zealand male will be dead. By tomorrow, 2 males and 1 female. That's 3 beautiful humans.
mm,
Um, you know, it's an illness that kills, right? And so I think that the preventative pathway is the pathway, the understanding, the knowledge. If you're working in a call center, um, you know, and someone rings you and they abuse you, that is going to hurt. I don't care who you are, right?
mm, mm,
I see workplaces a lot like elite sport, right? Um, you've got lots of things going on in your own life. There's no work-life balance anymore. I talk about back in the old days. Like I said, when I had blonde hair. Let's put it this way: you had a fight with Mumsy, right? You and your wife have a bit of an argument, and you go to work. Well, back in our day, mate, when you had hair and I was blonde, you didn't have to worry about it till five
yeah,
o'clock.
yeah.
Now you get a text at 9:30. Oh, you dick. You know what I mean?
You're still a dick.
Yeah, I'm just using that as an example, but but for example, I was with this young guy the other day, and he gets this text and he goes, "Oh shit!" I said, "Oh, what's up, my man?" And he said, "Oh, my son just came second at the school races," and I went, "Oh, that's awesome, brother! Congratulations! I feel so shit. I wasn't there." And I said, "Mate, my old man was a great dad. He never came near my school,
Yeah.
right? He was
Mm,
working." You
yeah.
know, and when I get home, I'd say, "Dad, I came second in the race." He said, "Right, son, we're down the pool. Now you're going to come first." um, he was a great dad, but we have
Mm,
this perception that we have to be these things today, and it
mm,
puts more and more pressure on us. So, um, you know, high performance sport, what is that? It's about performance. It's about actually being controlled by the public or by the social media, by the media, right? Um, you've got to have these expectations. You've got to actually deal with your own mental. So working in a call center is no different to being an
mm,
elite sportsman. You got to run your family. You've got to get up every morning. You got to take some abuse from people. Like, there's a lot of things in the workplace that are really similar to life, right? And
mm.
so stress and anxiety doesn't go away, man, right?
Yeah.
You accumulate this shit, right? Whereas what I do on a daily basis is I have my 6 pillars of well-being, which I learned, right? Um, and I do those religiously every single day, and that flushes out my stress on a daily basis. And I learned this over, many, many years of actually trying to understand, okay, how am I going to be the best at this illness? How am I going to be the All Blacks of depression? And with a lot of help, I learned these things. I'll tell you a story, right? So I go back to my psychiatrist and I say, right, okay, I've accepted my illness. I've thought about this over the last week, and I've accepted my illness rather than fight it. I want to be great at it, right? And she said, okay, JK, how would you like to try meditation? I went, wow, like this is the late 90s, mate, right? This is
Yeah.
the early 90s, late 80s, right? So there wasn't even, if you did yoga back then, you're a dope smoking surfy freak, you know what I'm saying? There was no Lululemon around, you know what I mean? Like, there's none of that.
Yeah.
No, those roller balls that you use, actually, most people have in the corner of their house and never use them, but there was none of that shit around. So,
Yeah.
so for me, meditation was like, wow. But I accepted it. And if you can meditate, it's one of the most amazing things you can do for your mental health. I recommend it. I recommend everyone to try it as a tool for your mental health. So I go, it was a nightmare, right? I got really anxious and all that sort of stuff. So I go back to her thinking I've failed, didn't work for me. And, I just can't do this stuff and I'm never going to get well. And she said, oh, no, JK. Some people have a ruminating mind, right? And I can't even spell ruminating. So I got her to explain what it was. She said, you've got a very active mind, never stops. I said, yeah. And so the best way I explain it, is that, have you got Netflix, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, Netflix has like 45 seconds for my ruminating mind. In fact, I changed the name from ruminating to Bob the Monkey, right? So I've got
Yeah.
Bob the Monkey in my head, right? So if Bob the Monkey's not interested in the movie after 45 seconds, he's off. He's
Yeah.
thinking about
Yeah.
yesterday, tomorrow, next week, all sorts of dumb shit that don't even matter. So I start to explain it to her, right? She says, oh, okay, well, maybe you're an active relaxer, right? So I'm going, okay, well, what does that mean? So I've got a ruminating mind. For example, if I go to bed at night and I don't read, right? Bob the monkey goes, and he's going,
What are we doing? What are we up
yeah,
to?
yeah, what are we up to? Let's feel like it's 8 a.m. in the morning and I'm feeling full of energy, JK, and I'm on my treadmill and Bob the monkey's going nuts, right? So the way I worked it out is that I find stuff that Bob the monkey hates. So Bob the monkey will go into his cage and have a banana if I read a book, right? So if I read a book before I go to sleep, Bob gets pissed off, goes into his cage, has a banana, go to sleep, and then I go to sleep, right?
Yeah.
Um, the other thing that I learned was that I love cooking, and Bob the monkey hates cooking. So when I cook, Bob the monkey goes into his cage and has a banana, right? And during COVID, I took up the guitar, right? I sound like shit. I've been playing 3 years. Sounds like I'm killing a cat in the
He's like
lounge.
this.
Yeah, yeah. He goes into his cage and has a banana, right? So, so when I do those things, that's my meditation,
Mm.
right? Um, and I make sure that I put those things in my, in my day every single day, right? So I think I wrote something out for you last night, right? See if I can find it on, but I'm not one of those dudes, right? So um, the 6 pillars, right? The 6 pillars are really, really important. Okay. So the 6 pillars are chill, do, connect, move, celebrate, and enjoy, right? So on my chill thing, if you're stressed, right? Let's say you've had a bad, I've never worked in a call center, but I know that you're really passionate about looking after the people in the space. So let's say you've had a shit day. You've had 5 people that have run you and called you all sorts of names and blah, 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 right? How do you switch your brain off? How do you not let it affect you, right? And for me to put that in, that was how do I switch my brain off for not playing well last week, or
Mm.
there was a bad article written about me, or all that sort of stuff. If Bob the monkey's going to grab hold of one of those things and run with
He's
it,
going to go, look at this.
yeah, look at this, mate. Let's amplify this, right? And especially at night, because problems get times by 1,000, you
Mm.
know. But what I do is, I read every single day. I play the guitar every day. I'll cook, right? And also, we're very, very, very busy, Martin, right? So it's really important to have 2 birds with 1 stone, right? So put it this way. If I cook dinner tonight and I think about it today and I plan it, and you know, um, and I cook dinner, Bob the monkey goes into his cage and has a banana. So I'm looking after my mental health. And who else doesn't you think that, thinks that might enjoy that I cook dinner?
Your
My
family.
wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, two
Yeah.
birds with one stone. My wife doesn't think I'm such a dick because I've cooked dinner. How good?
Mm.
Two
Yeah.
birds with one, right? Um, and so these things are really, really important that you understand how you wash your brain out on a daily basis, right? And then put those things in your day. So my complete chill today will be, playing the guitar. Sometimes I get really busy and I only play it for 10 minutes, but after
Mm.
10 minutes, I feel
Mm.
fantastic. Did you ever have an Auntie Betty, mate, with sort of purple rinse hair?
Uh, I've got relatives that would match that description. Yeah.
Okay, so I had an Auntie Betty, and she used to knit. Used to drive us nuts, right? But I read an article the other day that knitting is great for your mental
Mm.
health, right?
Yeah.
And this is the problem with mental health and well-being. I mean, what the hell is well-being? You know, like it's just this word that's thrown out there, and some people think it's yoga, some people think it's meditation, some people think it's diet, like it's all this. It's just, oh. But for me, well-being is preventative mental health, right? So if you can do something in your day, Auntie Betty did knitting, I cook, I read, I play the guitar. They think of, we say this to people, go back to your youth. What did you used to love doing? Might have been Lego, right?
Mm. Mm.
There's all these things that you can put in your day, but you've got to do them, mate. You've got to put them in your day. For example, move's another one, right? So the trouble is, the expectations of all of us in this world are huge, right? So have you ever seen a photo of a fat bastard on the gym wall?
No.
No, it's everyone. The women have the perfect body. Men have abs, right?
Yeah.
And you go in there, and my abs rolled, my turtles rolled over, and you think, wow, you know. And do you know about diet? Every day you'll get pushed.
Mm.
Vegan, Julio, Julio, Dulio. I don't know. There's so many out there, right? And I don't care what you do, but there's all this information. So movement is really, really important for your mental health. But you don't have to go to the gym. If you go to the gym, I love people that go to the gym. Gym's fantastic, but you don't have to go to the gym, right? For
Mm.
example, one of the
Mm.
things I do is I've got a dog, mate. My dog is a
Same.
Bichon. It's not really a dog, it's a Bichon Frise, right? I wanted a Labrador, my wife won.
Yeah.
We called it Fui Fui Moi Moi. Fui Fui Moi Moi is a 137 kilo Tongan rugby league player, and Fui's a 8 kilo little dog. But anyway, movement, for example, we're busy. We take, my wife and I take Fui for a walk. That's two birds with one stone. You know,
Mm,
if you're busy at work
mm,
all day and you just go home and go walking with the kids or walking with your wife or walking with
mm.
whoever, you're doing movement, but it's two birds with one stone. And so as you start learning these 6 tools and put them into your day, then, you start replenishing yourself.
Well, the next time you're in the UK, you can I'll introduce you to my black Labrador Hugo, and you can
Oh,
take him for a walk or a pull.
yeah, exactly. But you and I, we chatted the other day, how important are your mornings for you?
Yeah, super important. So much of what you've said is it's taken me later in life to find those things that harm my version of Bob. You know, not reading in bed, but I listen. I have to. Me and my wife, we have to listen to a podcast just to calm us down, get us to sleep. And it's the same. Mornings are so important for me now. The routine is go to the gym, and I have a little book, and I found that's really helped. That I plan. To your point about two birds, I get some calmness when I'm planning my routine, and then when I'm in the gym, to manage that kind of anxiety that you sometimes feel in there, I can just look at my book and think, right, what's my next exercise that I'm doing? And then come back from the gym and then go and take Hugo for a walk. And it means by the first 2 hours of the morning, so by 8 o'clock in the morning, I feel like I'm in control and I've had a successful morning already. So hugely important, hugely important.
Yeah, and there's another thing that we talk about in Groov, and I want you to think about this, mate, because this is really important, right? Um, so do you know when you're in your groove? And I think this is really important for everyone to think about as listening to this. Okay, so when I'm in my groove, and I'll show you, I made you a little bit of I made you a little bit of a PowerPoint.
Oh,
I've got no
I
sh-
appreciate that. No sharks. Down
yeah.
imposter like
So
you. I love
I'll,
it.
I'll talk to you about that in a minute. So some of my sharks were doubt, imposter
Very
syndrome.
artistic.
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoy the little things.
Love it.
Love music, love dancing. I'm really positive. So my my glass is half full. I'm really curious, mate. Like you and I have met each other twice. I'm already thinking about all that stuff in your room. What you do, family, and Hugo, and I'm really curious about other people's lives. Things are all good at home, mate. You know,
I love that.
With- yeah, yeah. And I'm really creative and I'm optimistic, right? So this is really important. And the reason I asked you is
I love
um,
them.
you don't have to have as many answers as that, but you'll know when you're in your groove, right?
Mm,
And one of the things we want to do at Groove is change the dialogue around preventative mental health, because all mental health discussion is really the scary stuff. And I
mm.
started with the scary stuff, but I'm really, really incredibly well, right? So how do you stay in your groove? That's
Yeah, I
the
love it.
secret. So you're working at a call center, and like I said, you've had one of those bad days. And this is really important. This is what I do to stay in my groove. I have a AAA battery, okay? And my AAA battery is that, right? When I'm out of my groove, we often do this, right? So the first A is awareness. What's bugging me? Was it
Mm,
that call? Am I worried about losing my job? Is it my relationship? What's going on, right? We're often aware, okay? But the second A is acknowledgement. Oh, it's that, right? Yeah, those 4 calls from those people today have really bothered me, and I'm trying to be tough, but it's just ain't working, right?
mm.
So the acknowledgement is the second part that's really important. Stress for me is when I walk around with the awareness and I'm not doing anything about it.
Mm.
And then the third A is act on it. And the quicker I get through those 3 A's, the quicker I get back into my groove, because I address the problem, know what the answer is, and then I go and in action what I need to do.
That's
Right.
brilliant. That's brilliant. Just just those kind of the techniques that people you can rely on. So you when you're searching for answers, you've got something there that can allow you to do that. How did you take this into co-founding Groove then, and what was important to you? It was these type of techniques and making them available to whether it is an agent in a call center or someone working anywhere.
Yeah, so really interesting question. I woke up nearly 6 years ago now and felt that I'd failed, Martin. I've been the face of mental health in my country for 15 years. I've been an advocate around the world for 15 years. I got knighted for that, right? And I wake up one morning and I read the newspaper and the suicide rate's going the wrong way. You know, I've had no effect on the mental health stats or the trajectory of mental health in our country. So I go, okay, I've failed. Now, failure, I used to be really scared of failure, used to run away from it. Now I embrace it as the greatest teacher I've ever had, right?
Mm.
So very quickly I said, okay, what do I need to do? And about 12 years ago with our country, we created a thing called depression.org.nz. And it was the first ever online safety of your own home place where you could go. And it was just basic steps to get through your mental health. That won awards all around the world. It was like absolutely unbelievable. But our government decided not to spend any more money on the tech. So for 10 years, I did the ads, drove the people to the site, and the tech didn't really change. So I said to myself, what would it look like if we created world-class, world-changing tech, right? To deliver preventative mental health, to give people little nudges, to just help them during the day. And then I thought, which is the best delivery system? And the best delivery system is, what is our biggest community? Our biggest community is our business. You
Mm.
know, you go to
Mm.
work every day and you might have 10 people at work, you might have 100. Then you go home to your families. So that's 300 people that can be affected. So I believe that businesses are like elite sport, you know, and I believe, and I don't want to, you know, I don't know your business like you know it, but I'm pretty sure it's regulated. You know, you've got to perform, you know, you've got a system where, you know, you've got all these things going on. That's like elite sport, right?
Mm.
So I believe that if we could deliver world-class, world-changing tech to people in businesses, they are going to start feeling better. They will understand their mental health. They'll get into their groove. And in the end, that will help businesses retain great people and hopefully show happier workplaces. If we can do that, if we can do that in the business place, then it will take off worldwide, right? Because
Yeah.
businesses actually genuinely caring for my people, genuinely giving them these tools, genuinely understanding them. The interesting thing is that, and this is what I love about Groov, is when I said well-being to you before, what did you think about for you?
For me, it was probably when it first started to come out and it was led by HR. No one really knew what it meant, but it felt like you were being, it was just, let's be nice to people, which felt like, well, shouldn't we have been doing that anyway?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And the reality is that, you know, there's bottom lines and there's restructures and we're not taught the emotional conversations. So what we talk about at Groov and what the All Blacks have been doing for many years is performance care. So when I think about Groov, I think about performance care, right? So performance has always been one conversation, and the care conversation is, oh shit, that's scary. I'm not going to have that. And normally you have it when you absolutely have to.
Mm.
For us, we believe the future is putting those two conversations together. I want you to perform. We need you to achieve your goals. And the bosses are normally really good at those conversations, right? Because
Yeah.
they've been taught. But
Yeah.
then if I said to you, you know, Martin, how do I need to care for you to achieve that? Right? You go, woo. And a lot of leaders
What's
don't know
happening?
that. Yeah, woo, you know. But what we do is we put tech in there and we prompt people to take these mini breaks. We prompt people. And the other really interesting thing is when you talk about well-being, you're going to think one thing, I'm going to think another. People in, 5 people in your call center are going to think 5 different things.
Yeah.
One might think knitting. One might think I'm looking forward to playing the guitar in the local band tonight. Someone else might think, whatever those things are, well-being is individual. And that's what we wanted to create. We wanted to create a tech that will treat you as an individual, right?
Mm.
And will prompt you to look after yourself the way you want to look after yourself with some awareness. So, anyway, getting back to why we created it was I just felt that we need to do preventative mental health. Governments are dealing with ambulance at bottom of the cliff, right? And the system is overloaded. So if we can stop pushing people off the cliff, then maybe we can start helping them. And I believe if businesses genuinely believe in their people, then we can deliver the tech that is going to teach people to look after themselves from an individual point of view, but also help the bosses have these conversations. They're not scary.
Yeah. Mm.
I don't have to. I don't have to ask you about your private life. I don't have to ask you about, what we do is teach them to have those conversations so that you can bring a little bit more of yourself to work, right? And I can help you deal with the stresses and pressures in life to help you perform better. So it's a win-win. I don't know if that made any sense.
A load of sense. I especially love, care and performance for me, and having spoken to some of your team and seen it, and just seen how much science and how many universities you've had behind all of this. It seems to me you've encapsulated it perfectly with the kind of care and performance. That combination is really about using tech to allow us to be our best selves, allow businesses to really optimize and get the best out of people through that combination of care leading to performance. Like you say, as opposed to them being these two very separate things, which you're dead right. That kind of, I'm very good at talking about performance. It's ingrained in us from day one. Care, oh, do you want to go and talk to someone else about that? Whereas Groove, you've got it all there, and it's tailored for the individual. Again, to your point about something that I can remember trying in an early contact center that I was manager of. I bought in a big heavy bag and we hung it up and said, you know what? When you've had a run of bad calls, 30 seconds on that will absolutely help. Now, some people loved it. Others were like, well, what do we do? Because I'm not going to go and hit that. And this is kind of now through AI and where we're at and backed by science, there's so much potential. It's just great to see what you're doing. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and look, I think and and what I want people to do. So I've got another couple of things that are really, really important. I made you another slide, right?
Oh, great.
So there's my 6 pillars, right?
I love it.
So you start working on your 6 pillars, right? Mine, read,
Mm.
remember my mum said to me when I was really unwell, I said, Mum, I'm dead. And she said, well, the good thing about your dead son is you're still here. I said, thanks, Mum.
Yeah.
And you've got to smell the roses. So I drove home that night thinking, smell the roses, right? Really, really unwell. The next morning, I had a hot shower and I felt the water. And I felt the water for a couple of minutes and it felt fantastic. I just lived in that moment. You'd probably call it mindfulness. But,
Mm.
and you know what? It was amazing. Guess how the rest of my day went?
Great.
I went like shit. Huh?
See, I'm an optimist.
Yeah, no, but I had the shower,
Yeah.
right? All of a
Yeah.
sudden, I had something to look forward to.
Mm.
So this sounds dumb, but when you're really unwell, and every morning I still have that hot shower, right?
Mm.
And then I started habit stacking. So I have a hot shower and then I have a cup of coffee. Those things changed my life, right?
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
still do it today. No matter how my day goes, and you talk about the army. Why do the army make you make your bed in the morning, right? Because if your day goes like shit, at least you made your bed.
Yeah, it's true.
And that changed my life, right? So the other thing that I want to talk about, if you're listening to this podcast and you go, yeah, I'm going to try all this thing. I want you to do these two things, right? Dot, okay? DOT, right? Can you remember that? You know what it
Yeah.
stands for? Do
No,
one thing.
do one thing. I love it.
And then once you've done dot, do that, right? Do another thing, but don't do that before you've done dot, okay? Right? Because the problem is when we do these things, remember when you hadn't been to the gym for a while and you sign up and you go to the gym and you work out so hard that you can't sit on the toilet for 3 days and you don't go back,
Yeah.
right?
There's a lot of
So,
that happening in January.
so all I want you to do is just try one thing for your mental health. Don't go through 6 pillars. And this is what we talk about at Groov. Just do one thing, Martin. You've come to yours. You get up in the morning, you go to the gym, you walk Hugo, right? So you've already got 2 or 3 things in your day that really help you. But those that haven't done this, just start with one thing, or just build on the one thing you do have. You might love your cup of tea. Just build on those things. And if you just do one thing, and once that's in your habitual day, do that.
Yeah, I
Okay?
love it. I love
So
it.
don't do everything at once. You need to build this over time. And once you start building it over time and you start putting those 6 pillars, for example, connect, right? How do you connect?
Mm,
I connect with the cell phone. I've got 2 sons who live overseas. I love using the cell phone, but it takes control sometimes. I
mm.
don't take it to the toilet, mate. I take a book. You know what I'm saying? Um, and when people come into my heart, I text them or I ring them, right?
Mm,
So how do you connect? When you get busy, are you connecting with your family? So
mm,
little things like that. Once you've worked out how you connect, it takes me 2 seconds to send someone a text, and I get a text back, and I feel better.
mm.
So once you start putting these things in your day, by doing dot, then all of a sudden, before you know it, you would have built up to having those 6 pillars,
And it
which is
must have a
fundamental.
bit of it must have a bit of trial and error in there as well about kind of is this working? I'm going to try something a little bit.
Yeah, totally, man. Like it
Mm,
is yours, brother. It's yours. Like I said, you might go back to knitting. I don't care. And sometimes these things are, a friend of mine just parked his car instead of in the car park. He parked it in the car park 500 yards from work, right? That meant he was walking a K a day, but it also gave him time to disconnect after work.
mm,
It doesn't matter.
mm,
It's yours. It's personal. And this is the
mm,
most important thing about mental well-being. It's yours.
mm,
Uh, I love my football, mate. I'm a rugby player, but my son's a professional soccer player. I love my football. Monday night, I really enjoy sitting in New Zealand and watching the Premiership and watching the Italian A League, And I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it until I started putting it into my daily mental. Once a week, I'm looking forward to that. And I talk to
yeah.
he's an Interman, I'm a UV. Those little things. It might be Sunday football, but if you put them on your list, then instead of them being out there and you're thinking about them often. And I think
Mm,
those little, but it's personalized. It's yours, right?
mm. I love that. We spoke about football last time, didn't we? And that kind of that stuck with me about having this for me, trying to visualize it as well, to write, like you say, write it down and go, like, so tomorrow night, whilst we're recording this, tomorrow night, I've got 1 hour of six-a-side football in a cage. It's my favorite hour because for
Yeah.
that hour, there's nothing going on up here. There's some people that would say there's not much going on up there most of the time, but um,
um, so I want anyone who's listening, I want you to do this little test. If there's someone around you, when you walk out of the pod, you can talk to your wife. Say to them, "You're awesome." Right? Really simple. Martin, you're awesome.
JK, you're awesome.
I know. The reason I want you to do that is now I want you to say something else, Martin. Right? And I want you to do this if you listen to this iPod. I want you to say this. I'm awesome.
I'm awesome.
Yeah. Which was harder?
The second one.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
often we tell ourselves, and one of the six pillars is to celebrate. And I always tell this story, right? My sister rings me and she goes, "How are you, little bro?" I said, "I'm fantastic. How are you?" She says, "Oh, I'm good." She says, "Why are you so good?" I said, "I just looked in the mirror." "Oh, you're a vain asshole." She says, "So vain, right?" But the reality is, I don't do it from a vanity point of view. But if you don't celebrate and if you don't tell yourself how awesome you are, you work in a call center and you have a day, where you get five bad calls and you cope with them, you're awesome. You are awesome, right? But we don't tell ourselves enough and we don't celebrate enough, right? And so I joke about it, right? And if you say to me, "JK, you're awesome," I say, "I know," right? Because people go, "Oh, I bastard." But the reality is, you've got to keep telling yourself that you're doing an amazing job.
Mm.
You're doing an amazing job, Martin. You work, you've got a podcast, you've got a family, all sorts of shit in your life. And if you work at a call center, you've got a family, you're working hard, you've got all this stuff going on. It's not far from elite sport. So you've got to have that confidence in yourself, and you've got to tell yourself that you're doing an awesome job. Some days go better than others, but you're doing an awesome job. We're nailing it.
Mm.
And if not, you need to have that little awareness. Okay, where's my triple battery? Where's my awareness? Where's my acknowledgement? And what am I going to do about it?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And these that kind of just I'm buzzing. It's 9 p.m. here. I'm just going to go out for a run straight afterwards.
Yeah.
And what's the plan then? Are you will we see you over here in the UK anytime soon?
Yeah, yeah, I'm really keen to come over. Our goal is to reach 100 million people, Martin. Our goal is to put Groov into businesses and change the preventative mental health landscape. We want to give people the opportunity to have a preventative mental health plan, and really, really get in their groove. I went from surviving to thriving.
Mm.
I want everyone to thrive. And thriving doesn't mean I'm well all the time. Thriving doesn't mean that life goes well all the time. But when it isn't going well, I've got those tools that really, really help me. Stress is accumulative. You don't want to take it to sad day, then you wake up and you've got a headache or you're too tired to be with your kids. You want to flush that every day. So our goal with Groov, yeah, we've opened up in the UK. You spoke about Tips and Tanner, but they're our representatives over there. We're wellbeing partner for the All Blacks. So we came over last year, so I'm hoping to be there in the next month or so and just continue to grow the business and connect with people and put this technology into businesses. And what we want to get out is the data for people to know that they're getting better and feeling better and functioning well.
Mm.
And it's about just making people's days better.
Well, there's a million people working in call centers in the UK, and I would love for them to be a million of your 100 million, because I know it would make a difference. And you're right, your guys, I met them at the expo, just great advocates of what you're doing, really passionate about what they're doing. And um, it's one of those things, isn't it? Just to think, I do this by myself, this podcast, and here I am talking to you because of human connection. Just chatting to Arnie and Tanner, and um, next thing you know, here we are, and I've been inspired by you in this hour.
Well, smart. It's just the truth. Mental health, we've all got it, right? We all have good days, we all have bad days. This subject has been ignored for 100 years. We
Mm.
talk about health, and unfortunately, and look, I want to free up as much as I can so that those that are really unwell get the help that they need. There's no waiting lists and all that sort of stuff. But if we can prevent this, if we can just
Mm.
prevent this, actually, and like I said, this is based in science. I've got all these really smart people because I can't even spell. you know I've got all these really smart people that understand that if you do these six pillars, right, then your day will be better, right? But it's just that we've been trying to push, if I go to yoga, mate, I'll kill the yoga teacher, you know. But if yoga's one of your move things and it's good for you,
Mm,
do it. I'm not
mm,
going to preach anything to anybody. Find what it is for you. If it's yoga, if it's meditation, whatever that is. But you need to build this in this modern world. We get more inputs in one day today
yeah.
than your had in a lifetime.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So, and you think about the phone now. So
yeah.
we now need to take control of our mental health, and we now need to give our mind some downtime. Um, last time you went on the underground, who's looking at you or who's looking at their phone? That's all inputs. Boom, boom. I don't care what you do. I'm
Mm,
not going to preach about
mm,
how you use your phone or whatever. I don't care about that. But what you do need to realize, you've got all these inputs. So how do you give your brain a rest? How do you look after it? We know about diets, right? And if you want to be a vegan, God bless you. If you want to be Puglia, whatever, that's beautiful. I don't care what you do, but we have a lot of information out there. We
mm.
sort of know what's good for us. We sort of know, it's all right to have a pint of beer, but 10's not great. We sort of know that, but we don't know anything about mental health and how to protect our long-term mental health. And
Mm.
this is basically what science tells us.
JK, thank you so much for doing this. It's been brilliant, and thanks for all you do for mental health. I'm right behind you in the good fight, and I genuinely hope we can do this again, ideally in person, which would be brilliant.
You're welcome, mate. And look, I really meant what I said. For all you people out there in call centers, just before you switch off this podcast, just say to yourself, "I'm awesome," right?
You're
Because
awesome.
I know you're awesome.
I know.
Beautiful, beautiful.
JK, thank you so much.
You're welcome, mate.